Tīmatau I te karakia. Tuatahi I ngā mana I ngā reo, I ngā matua ko te motu nei, tēnā koutou, nau mai, haere mai ki tēnei hui. Karakia, whakatake te hau. Whakatake te hau ki te uru, whakatake te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kinakina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hiaki ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu. Tihei, mauri ora. Kia ora.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Janet. And it's a real pleasure to be speaking to you all today. I'm just going to bring up our slides and hopefully that's all good. Okay, get cracking. Yeah. Okay, so it's a really great opportunity to have a chat to you all about the New Zealand Institute for Advanced Tech and also the forthcoming investment into the AI research platform. Just before we opened the call to you all, Albert was saying there's lots of conversations going on, which is really great to hear. We're really looking forward to all your ideas. I'm going to kick off the presentation. I'm going to hand over to Vanessa about halfway through once we turn to the investment details. So let me see if I can just get through. Okay, so the agenda for our presentation today. First of all, we're just going to give you a little bit of background about the Institute in case some of you may know a little bit less about it. We're going to talk about the objectives of the AI research platform and the investment process that we're going to be running over the next couple of months, and also the criteria that you're going to need to think about as you put together your applications. So let's get into it. As you're probably aware, I think everyone ought to be, the government's been working through its science system reforms over the past few months. As part of that, there's been a merger of the 7 Crown Research Institutes into 3 new public research organisations. And then we've got this 4th PRO called the Institute for Advanced Technology. And so the mission of this new PRO is really about strengthening New Zealand's advanced tech sector and its contribution to a more productive economy. And the purpose is really to bridge or to bring together researchers, investors, industry, and unlock insights and really drive these new scientific discoveries in advanced tech for real-world impact and economic growth. So really underlining it's an economic growth-focused organisation. It's trying to harness the power of advanced tech and really shift the dial or shift the needle on New Zealand's economic performance. We're still setting up the new institute. It doesn't exist as a legal entity yet. It's being developed at MBIE while we go through that formal process. But of course, you know, in the tradition of flying and building the plane at the same time, we're actually starting to deliver on some of the investments that the government is wishing to make and to achieve through the institute, obviously including this one into AI. So why did we create the Institute, or why did the government wish to create the Institute? I think it's important to maybe understand this little bit of background so you can see where this investment process is coming from. So the Institute's very much aimed at growth and productivity and creating frontier firms. And so what do we mean by a frontier firm? What you see in many other countries is that productivity is really turbocharged by these firms that are operating with highest levels of technology, innovation, fantastic management practices, and those firms tend to have really positive spillovers to the rest of the economy and sort of pull productivity up across the board. And I'm sure you're all aware that here in New Zealand, we've got a really long-standing productivity issue, poor performance over many decades compared to a lot of our peers overseas, particularly those small advanced economies that we tend to compare ourselves with all the time. And this little chart here, it's quite small, but it shows our GDP growth rates. And I think the point to take away from that is that it's been pretty flat and we'd like to see it going in an upward direction. We've got relatively few of these world-class frontier firms. We do have some, obviously, but not enough really to make a difference. We're also observing that countries overseas are investing a lot more in advanced tech than New Zealand is. They're trying to seize those new opportunities. For a long time, and probably logically, we've had a focus on primary industries, the environment and so on. That's perfectly valid, but I think now what the government is seeing is there is an opportunity to pivot a little bit and put more emphasis on advanced tech. So this organisation is going to underpin innovation across sectors. Unlike, our other Crown Research Institutes, these new PROs, it doesn't actually have a particular sector focus. It's very much advanced tech first. And in that way, I think it's going to really nicely complement the more domain-focused work that we see undertaken in the other organisations. So how is it going to work? We envisage this functioning with a central hub. It's going to be located in Auckland, and the team there will do work on strategy, look at global and domestic trends, industry needs, do a lot of industry networking and stakeholder networking, and of course, looking after these research platforms. So you've got the hub in the centre, you've then got this network, if you like, of research platforms. The first, of course, is Robinson Research, which has been given funding for a magnetic and materials platform. And of course, now the second investment into AI, and there'll be further investments into other advanced tech as we progress. And those investment priorities are going to be advised or informed by advice from the Prime Minister's Science, Innovation, Tech Advisory Council. So looking at the objectives now of the AI research platform and what we're trying to achieve. So what you can see on screen there is the objective. And I think the point that we want you to take away from this is that we're looking to build a sustainable advantage that's really going to help New Zealand's economic performance in a durable way. And so that's a call now for your boldest, really ambitious AI research ideas. Like many countries, we're using the OECD definition of AI to frame this. And here, the point to take from this particular slide is that we're not just focused on generative AI. So we're taking a wide approach. It includes machine learning, lots of other more traditional styles of AI, as well as the generative, agentic AI, and anything else that's coming down the pipeline, because it does seem to change from day to day. We really want the research under this platform to be world-class. So it's not looking to keep up with the pack. It's not just business as usual. We're really looking for somewhere where New Zealand can lead, and it needs to be in an area that makes sense for New Zealand as well. So you need to think about what is it about New Zealand that means that this research can be done here, it can be done efficiently, successfully in New Zealand. Is it going to create these really knowledge-intensive, highly productive firms? Is it creating new market opportunities for New Zealand? So it needs to be research that's pushing the boundaries, creating novel value propositions for New Zealand, really giving us this durable competitive edge. Almost someone described it as a little bit of a moat around us. What can we do and protect that gives us that edge internationally? An important part of the research investment, I think, will be these international collaborations, both with research institutes overseas and also with industry overseas. And ultimately, if you've read through the documentation for the call, you'll see that we're looking to create what we've sort of called a bit of a centre of gravity. So the ultimate recipient of this investment is going to be undertaking a research program and building an AI institute effectively. So one place in New Zealand that people can turn to and know that that's the place to come to here in Aotearoa for AI research. What kind of research are we looking for? I mentioned it needs to be world-class, but if we now think in terms of technology readiness levels, what we're looking for is creation of new knowledge of significance with a compelling impact pathway. So we're not down at TRL 1 where we're doing basic science, blue sky with, not any set sense of where it's heading. We're doing discovery with a purpose. We want this to have a commercialization goal in mind. And over the life of the investment, we're expecting that you'll be delivering from TRL 2 to 6. So in the initial couple of years, you might be doing heads down, doing a lot of this discovery work around TRL 2 and 3. Over time, you're involving industry more and more, developing prototypes, getting through to TRL 4 and 6, and bringing that research through to commercialization. So I think by the end of the time of the platform, you're really engaging in a very deep way with really committed firms. So that is an introduction to the platform. I'm going to hand over to Vanessa now, and she's going to talk a bit more in detail about the investment process.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so
Moving on. So total funding is up to 70 million over 7 years. And our ideal outcome is that we'd like to fund just one team or sub-consortia to deliver this platform in its entirety. So if you're bidding to this process, you're actually applying for that total funding and to deliver the platform as a whole. We're not seeking applications that apply for a portion of that funding or for a smaller project or program. We're using the MBIE definition of a science platform, which is on the slide there. And to me, when I think about what a science platform is, it has substantial scale. It has a critical mass of researchers who are putting in a significant proportion of their time, and it has a cohesive program of research activities, and it grows a national strength based on research capability. And all those things should add up to what Sarah was saying about shifting that dial. We've got a focused, cohesive platform with of substance. Sometimes when you're defining
Vanessa?
something. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, your voice your audio keeps sort of coming in and out really faint and really loud. I'm not quite sure why, but just wanted to let you know if you could speak, maybe like face the mic on the laptop perhaps a bit more. Or
I'm moving. You probably get a really bad close-up now, but I'm closer to this.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, cool. Sometimes when you're defining something, it's useful to say what it's not. So a science platform is not a digital software platform. A science platform is not a single project or narrowly focused study, and it's not a series of unconnected, discrete research projects that happen to add up to 17 million. So in summary, we're looking for that really large, strategic, integrated research program with a clear directional goal built on research capability. So we're running a two-phase process to identify the team or consortia to deliver on this substantial platform. The first phase is concept selection, which is very front of mind at the moment. It's an open contest, noting you're applying for that full 70 million, and your team or consortia are going to need to bring together science and industry partners to ultimately help you realise that platform vision. What's a concept? A concept to me is the written equivalent of your elevator pitch for this platform. It's a very short document. It has an exec summary, 1,500 words, which is about 3 pages, in which you convey your vision for the platform and address those concept criteria. So FYI, you can put diagrams and hyperlinks in that concept. There's a concept template available online at the moment, and then you need to submit through MBIE's PITO management system. So from that phase 1 assessment, we intend to select around 5 concept applicants who will be invited to phase 2 and develop up really substantial proposals which provide a lot more detail about the platform that's been proposed. And we will also provide funding of up to 250k, which is to support the costs involved with planning and pulling that proposal together. And then phase 2 assessment takes place next year. We're super excited that we're getting our independent assessment panel together. We've got some fantastic people on board with deep AI research expertise and commercialisation experience. We're just getting the last contract or 2 signed, and then we will be putting those panel members' bios up online so that you can see who's on the panel. As part of the phase 2 assessment happening next year, we're actually going to bring the international members of the panel to New Zealand, and so that the panel as a whole will have an opportunity to interview those phase 2 applicants, which I'm really excited about that too. So that independent assessment panel reviews all applications, and they will make recommendations of what is funded. MBIE currently has responsibility for setting up and running this investment process, and also as a decision maker. But once the New Zealand Institute for Advanced Technologies is established and set up and has a board, we will then transfer that decision-making responsibility to the Institute board. So as things stand at the moment, with the phase 1 decisions for those around 5 concepts, that will be MBIE as the decision maker. And I'd anticipate when we get to phase 2, that it'll be the Institute board that makes that final critical decision on the the one proposal that we'd like to fund to deliver the platform. So in making their recommendations, the panel will consider the assessment criteria for each relevant phase, and does the proposed platform really align with what we're seeking as outlined in the investment goals, the research focus, and is what's proposed, I guess, going to drive those outcomes that we're seeking around diversifying the economy, driving the creation of more knowledge-intensive firms. And our bottom line is that the decisions will best meet that overall platform intent as outlined in the call for proposals. Cool. So yes, concepts, as I said before, very much front of mind. I'll just focus on the concept criteria. So when you are pulling together your concept to submit to us, you're going to need to be telling us about your vision for the platform. Why does it make sense for the research to be done here? How's it going to provide that enduring competitive advantage, that sort of hard to copy niche that makes sense for New Zealand to be in, and that we can be genuinely excellent at and can own? And how is that going to in turn generate those high-tech frontier firms? So you're going to be making the case for the excellence of your emerging or world-class AI research capability. So tell us about your science leadership, your team's skills and knowledge, and your novel and ambitious research. In connections, you'll need to outline both your research and industry relationships, domestically and internationally, both currently and looking to how you'll develop and expand these in the future. And lastly, the investing in people criterion at the concept stage is really laser focused on, do you have a track record of developing AI research capability? And that, I guess, reflects your credibility as an applicant and the underlying importance of capability development to the platform. And that's, yeah,
that's us.
That's us wrapping up.
Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen now so we can see your...
Thank you. Richard, would like to start?
Yeah, okay. I would like to start if you're okay. It's really interesting talking to different people around New Zealand, because there was something really key you said here about the not things. You know, it's not a digital software platform. It's not just a narrowly focused study. It's not non-integrated separate paths. And the non-integrated separate paths seems to be, I've noticed of talking to different groups, that have different understanding of what that means. Like, you could imagine there are people who are focusing on primary industries and people who are focusing on health. And then there are people who are thinking, well, maybe we can have some common AI that glues those two things together and have primary industries and health. So I'm just sort of trying to get a feel from you for what you imagine this being in 7 years' time in terms of representing, you know, like a wide part of AI in New Zealand, as opposed to, say, just one or another, or, you know, those were just two examples of many.
Do you want me to
You have a go and I'll
start on that? So I guess I'd take us back to the intent of the investment and the intent of the Institute, actually. And as I said, the Institute is not focused on one sector or another. It's focused on the bigger goal, which is improving New Zealand's economic performance, because if we can do that, everyone's going to benefit. So I think our expectation is that whatever the platform is intending to do, it is going to create some sort of pipeline of research through to commercialization that is going to drive excellence. It's going to drive productivity improvements. It's going to be creating or boosting firms that are doing fantastic things in New Zealand, that are creating jobs, that are sort of inserting themselves into global value chains and really you know, making economic value for us. It's about that big entire goal. We don't have preconceived notions of what particular sector the research might be applied to. I mean, ideally, if it applied to many different sectors, that would be amazing, right? Because then you're lifting the boat across the board. But we're not going to say, oh, we must, you know, double down on New Zealand agriculture, or we must double down on medtech, because we don't know what all those options are out there. You guys need to tell us what's possible and to think big.
No, that answered the question. No, thank you. It's good to have that clarified. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, Vanessa. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to reinforce that. I think part of it is that that I guess question which we also talked about earlier, which is what is it in AI research that New Zealand's going to be genuinely good at and world leading? And I think that gets to the heart of
Absolutely. And as you know, like the AI Researchers Association, we've got over 500 members of AI researchers from all universities and CRIs now, PROs, and even in industry. So we sort of know everyone. So when you say on the assessment panel, there's going to be people with deep AI research background, you'd be mad not to be on a consortium somewhere in New Zealand. So did you mean you're having people from within New Zealand or people from without New Zealand on this assessment panel with that?
It's a mix and predominantly international members. And I guess as an FYI, yes, we're going to post the bios up on the website shortly, just like you, timeframes are tight. And you do have the opportunity to flag any conflicts of interest if you perceive any with panel members or MB when you submit your application.
I think on that, just to add, New Zealand's a small place. Everyone knows everyone.
Exactly.
And I think rather than an absence of conflicts of interests, it's going to be a matter of sort of management of potential conflicts of interest. It's just the nature of things here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for answering those two questions, Albert.
Yeah, thank you. We have two questions about how we balance this thing, right? So how we balance world-class cutting-edge AI research and that fits in New Zealand, right? So that's the first balance, and the second is how we balance what we call fundamental AI research and then more industry-focused projects.
Yeah, so I think we sort of addressed the first part of that earlier by saying, going for growth or going for economic growth is what we're after here. And I think New Zealand, that is the priority here, rather than a specific sector. In terms of the fundamental versus applied, the way that we've been thinking about the Institute in general is that it's not doing basic science, and nor is it doing fee-for-service work. It's in the middle stages of supporting research that is knowledge creation with purpose, TRL 2 and 3, and getting through to developing relationships with business where you're turning your research to application, you're investigating, testing, prototyping with these dedicated firms who can see something there in the research for them, and getting it through to TRL 4, 5, and 6. And the portfolio of the Institute over time will probably have a mixture of things going on. But what we would expect from a platform is that at the early stages, maybe you are doing more of the, I don't know if I'd call it, we can argue about words if we call it fundamental or whatever, but doing the knowledge creation stuff, having a dig around, and then over time you're going, okay, right, we've got some stuff here to work with. We're going to bring these firms on board. We're going to really engage and turn this into more commercialization type activity and opportunities. So that's how we see these, the flow, I guess, of a mix of different research. And again, we're not dictating just yet how that looks. It's going to depend, I think, on the platform and on the research that you're doing.
Yeah, so just I guess picking up from Sarah, we've got, I guess, that TRL level guidance and the call for proposals. And we did a webinar last week, which is available online through the AI forum. And there was a bit of talk on the panel about the pace at which AI is moving, which I'm sure everybody on this webinar is highly cognizant of, and how we need to move really quickly. And I think that's actually a point worth touching on here in terms of, this platform where we're wanting a step change. We want that sense of urgency here too, and a real acceleration from, yes, you may be starting with that TRL 2-3, but can you accelerate the pace at which we move from research to actually generating impact and commercialization?
Thanks. So what we are hearing is that, it's not only of applying AI that is developed. We really need to create the capability here in New Zealand, right? So this is what the first step, right, should be, is to create this new capability, this new research in
exactly. Exactly. And I think it's important to perhaps
I know that recently the government issued its AI strategy, right? And that's been a lot about adoption of AI and getting firms across New Zealand to pick up AI, which is a really important goal. That's not the goal of this institute and this AI platform. It's not about just adoption. It's about increasing our capability in the technology. You know, it's an advanced tech investment. So that's, I think, a really important point to take away from this.
Great, thank you. Maybe just one question before getting Richard continue. So on terms of the Vision Mataranga policy, so how strong is Maori research leadership, Indigenous data sovereignty, or Tikanga Line AI expected or required in proposals?
Cool. So our call for proposals, that's our touchstone for everything in this process. And that outlines our expectations and requirements for applications. So as I sort of said, strengthening New Zealand's economic performance is the ultimate target that we're trying to achieve with this platform by creating new firms at that tech frontier. And the vision for your platform needs to deliver on that target. But your vision is going to be specific to your area of research and application. Vision Mataranga policy is a New Zealand science sector policy that aims to deliver effective and innovative products, services and outcomes for Māori and all of New Zealand. It's online and some applications may give effect to this policy. We don't expect that Vision Mataranga will be applicable to all proposals, and there's no requirement to give effect to Vision Mataranga if it's not relevant. So in the call for proposals, you'll see investing in people as an investment goal, and it's also a criterion at the different phases. And yeah, that capability building aspect is a key part of this platform, and it's in that context that the call for proposals specifically mentions Vision Mataranga, where we ask applicants to give effect to Vision Mataranga where it's applicable. So leads to another question, which is obviously when considering whether Vision Mataranga is applicable to your platform, what do you think about? So there's probably three things which I'd encourage you to think about, which is if you're working with or due to your area of application or subject matter, you should be working with Māori knowledge, for example, knowledge about te ao, the environment, or Māori resources, where data is an obvious one. Māori people, so Māori researchers, businesses or communities. And if your application will involve or should involve working with Māori knowledge, resources or people, or a combination of those, then Vision Mataranga is relevant. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to Vision Mataranga, so it needs to be fit for purpose for the outcomes and the nature of your research, what you're doing, and I guess proportionate to that. So how you give effect to Vision Mataranga will need to be tailored very much for the instances of what's going on within your research and your vision and the extent to which you're working with Māori knowledge, resources and people. Just going back to that call for proposals again, in phase 2, so if you're successful in phase 1 and get to the stage of developing a really in-depth proposal, you'll see the phase 2 criterion on investing in people. One of the sub-criterion sort of points is around what plan steps are proposed to give effect to Vision Mataranga where applicable. So once again, that's a prompt for, is Vision Mataranga applicable for what your vision for this platform and the research you're proposing to do? And if so, what are the tangible steps and mechanisms you could take to build Māori science capability and capacity in a way that's relevant for your platform and research?
Well, thanks. There was just one thing that came up then, I just want to ask. You said the Institute for Advanced Technology that you guys sound like you're going to be part of is based in Auckland. Did you imagine that being the organisation that's essentially managing this AI research platform?
Yeah, so that's the contract manager, funder, partner. Yeah.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Good, Richard. Any other question? Or
well, there's a bunch.
I can continue asking questions.
There's a bunch in the Q&A, Janet. Did you want us to just work through them in the order they appear?
Yeah, and they've been upvoted. So if it's got 3 thumbs up, that's the priority one.
There is just one question for me is, can research organizations submit more than one application?
Okay, that's a yes but answer, if I can understand. So, I mean, many of you on this webinar will, I'm sure, be very familiar with a lot of different MB contestable processes and know that there have been processes that have had bidding rules restricting how you can apply. So with this investment process, we have not put rules in place that restrict organisations to only being able to submit one proposal, one application. So it's a yes, a research organisation could submit more than one, and I'm conscious of, particularly in something like a university context, there may be researchers in different parts of the university who are linking into different concepts. I did have a question the other day from someone where it sounded like they were linking into or thinking about submitting multiple concepts aiming at different areas, and I think a lot of people also on this webinar will be highly cognizant and aware of the amount of work it takes to actually put together a credible application. And I don't know, my experience would recommend that if you are thinking about putting forward multiple applications, you're actually not going to put your best foot forward in any one of those and would be reducing your chances. So I would highly encourage strategic and responsible bidding, and being in your own best interest in making sure that the concept you put forward is best placed.
Thank you.
And what about people? Can researchers be involved in more than one application?
Once again, the answer is a yes, but
okay.
we don't have rules on that. But you need to think about what you think is appropriate. Are you being strategic, responsible, putting your best foot forward? And
thank you.
The most popular question at the moment is, do you see the funding primary as the source of research support, or primarily as an enabler for substantial additional income research funding from overseas and industry?
So we are investing 70 million in funding research here. I think it's leverage, and bringing in other funding is great, and that will probably happen more over time as well.
I mean, I think 70 million is a substantial investment from the government, and I think it's a bigger sum than we've perhaps seen in the past. By international standards, I guess it's pretty small, but I suppose, yes, it is the source of research support, and it ought to be, if you think about it, it's possibly around 10 million, up to 10 million over 7 years, so up to 70 million. And it can act as an enabler. So we are looking for you to have international collaboration, and if they come to the party with interest in funding, then that's great. We also think it's probably appropriate that industry co-funds at some point. If they are seeing real benefits from the research that's being done and then the development of it through into testing and prototypes, then it seems appropriate that there's funding coming from that direction as well.
And I guess international collaborators aren't just about funding. They can also be about the complementary skills they bring. It might be around access to infrastructural resources, or it might be about improving your route to market and actually helping commercialise as well. So I think I'd be quite purposeful and strategic in thinking about what collaborations will help the platform realise your vision.
Great. Thank you for that. The next, this is more of a comment, but it's quite popular, so I'll read it out, and then if you have any other comments, any of you really. The proposed investment amount is significant for New Zealand, but it's negligible compared with the trillions of dollars currently being invested in AI internationally. From an industry perspective, we might be better off focusing on integrating commercially available AI into our businesses, e.g. research readiness level 6. Otherwise, we risk falling behind.
I guess perhaps a couple of thoughts on that. As I said, the New Zealand numbers are always smaller than international numbers, and that's just a fact of life here. But there's no reason why you can't have both. So industry is absolutely able to go and invest into integrating the commercial off-the-shelf products on AI into their businesses and into their business processes. So, and they should. I think you're quite right that New Zealand businesses will fall behind if they aren't integrating AI in a purposeful way and thinking about what it's going to help them achieve and what value it's going to create. I think adopting AI just for AI's sake isn't actually going to help you at all. It's you're just going to probably have a lot of failed projects. So that ought to be happening anyway. I think what this investment is doing is it's looking at New Zealand's sort of more fundamental capability around AI. We have some great work going on in the research sector. And there are niches that we can dig further into and be world leading at perhaps. So, and that's what we're interested in funding. I think that there is a risk for New Zealand if we don't have that sort of AI capability, because then we really will be just taking what comes in from overseas and not have the capability to engage with that and to think about how we can shape it for our own purposes, right? So I very much think it's, you know, we need both of these things, and that's what this investment is trying to do.
And perhaps just to reinforce, I think, you know, I guess that earlier stage research is about, you know, excellent science that's useful actually gives you something that's going to provide, it gives you that novelty compared with everyone else that's going to help provide that competitive commercial advantage and help build that New Zealand hard to copy niche. If we're just, we need to adopt everything, but there's also a bit where is there a space where we can own, and actually doing really innovative, bold research is going to help us get into that position.
Yeah, and there are areas where New Zealand is leading the world in AI. It's not like we're not leading anywhere. So a lot of people think, well, we should all give up because there's all these trillions going overseas in any area of research. And I've heard this so many times over the last couple of decades that, you know, no, we mustn't give up. We must keep leading the world in specific niches. Yeah,
that's right. It's just about finding those hot spots that we can really double down on.
Yeah,
Thank
I really
you.
like this idea of hard to copy niche, right? So that's really a good way to say it, right?
We've got an interesting question here. There are two extremes. So the comment is a comment, and then there's a question about it. So one extreme is making the funding go to a specific area of AI led by very few people at a single organization. So New Zealand becomes world leaders of that specific area of AI. And I think that's briefly what we talked about just now. The other is to dilute the funding across all areas and all existing institutions where AI could be developed in New Zealand, leveraging existing research capability. So which of these two extremes is closer to what MB is seeking?
We're assembling an assessment panel, which is going to give us independent advice based on the wonderful ideas that will be proposed in the concepts. And they're going to be looking at that call for proposals, just like you are, and going, what actually is the best chance of delivering us this platform that's going to drive the step change in tech frontier firms? Yeah. So, sorry, that's sort of answering your question with a question, but that is what it comes down to.
Yeah. Just to add to that, the question of dilution. So I think there has been a tendency in science research, perhaps, but in many areas of New Zealand policy, as we try to have a bob each way, and we do dilute funding. The funding pool is already small for New Zealand because we're a small country, and we end up not making headway at all because we've given sort of, I guess, less than optimal amounts to progress a certain goal or to progress a certain activity or process. So I think here too, we're not wanting to go down that dilution route. We're really trying to say, okay, let's make a substantive investment in something, and we'll see what that is, and really put some oomph behind it.
And I think when you're thinking about how, as an applicant, you might make that case and argue this investing, you know, in our platform will help drive that competitive advantage, that hard to copy niche, to use that phrase again. You know, actually, are you going to make a better case, and can you argue that case if you're very dilute or if you are actually focused on doing a step change in a particular area? So yeah, it's another question back to you.
Hopefully this is a simpler one. Should the consortia be led by the universities, PROs, or a combination? Can PROs lead or co-lead any consortium?
So our I guess rule is we actually have to contract with something that's a legal entity. Whether that is a university or a PRO or a business or even a trust, that doesn't matter. We just need a legal entity to contract with for the phase one, when we're giving you the I guess funding to support the proposal, and also later on as the platform.
Great. Similarly, more around the PROs is a comment, and then a few questions actually. So this might take a little while. The NZIAT seems very different to the other PROs. The others, like ESNZ, employ hundreds of researchers, whereas NZIAT seems more like a funding body outsourcing the research. So it could end up with NZIAT basically funding, say, the other PRO if they lead the successful bid. This just feels wrong to me. That's a comment. So.
Yeah, so I guess yes, it is different to the other PROs. It's been developed that way for a purpose. It's trying to make that pivot towards new areas of the economy, and so it's also going to function in a different way. I think what we are intending is that NZIAT is not just a funder. It's not just handing out the cash and saying, right, see you later, I hope you meet your KPIs. There really is going to be close engagement with these platforms around their development. There's also going to be, ongoing conversations with networks in New Zealand, building up knowledge of the advanced tech opportunities and seeing where we might want to prioritise investment next. So whilst you can say no, it's not actually employing the researchers directly, and that's true. It's not just a simple, funding body that's sort of a blank face behind a screen.
Yeah, its role is not to employ researchers directly, but to, I guess, enable and drive those, advanced tech outcomes for the economy. So I think of the institute as an enabler.
Yeah. I think too, the point to make is that the government's investment in advanced technology isn't just going to be coming through this particular institute, right? So obviously the other PROs have work around different advanced technologies, and that's entirely appropriate. They've each got their sector sort of niches and they're thinking through how advanced tech applies in those areas. There will be funding that streams towards them. It's not all tunneling through us. So I think, it ought not be a concern.
Yeah, the institute has a specific role in driving these big platforms where we want to have that step change difference, and there will continue to be other contestable processes in advanced tech under Research Funding New Zealand.
Right. I think the next one was who is on the panel, but I understand from your comments previously that you can't disclose who that is, but that it's mostly international. But does the other question is, does the panel make both the round 1 and round 2 decisions?
Cool. So the panel makes recommendations to the decision makers. So they will assess against those assessment criteria, the alignment with is it delivering on that call for proposals, and will make recommendations to the decision maker. That's MBIE currently, and that decision-making responsibility will transfer to the institute once it's set up. So that's the sort of differentiation of the roles.
And is the 250K per proposal, is it per proposal or a total of for all 5 together?
It's per proposal.
I thought so.
We will cover the costs incurred with actually pulling together and thinking through developing your proposal.
Great.
Which I think is an acknowledgement of the work involved, which everyone here will be really conscious of.
Great. You talked a lot about sort of the type of mechanisms that we need in New Zealand, and why this is, the case for uplifting productivity, and obviously also just to position ourselves. And we are well positioned in terms of AI, but just even more so to what New Zealand can bring to the conversation. But can you highlight examples internationally of successfully developing such a platform, such a national platform in this way?
Couple of thoughts on that. I guess, we see overseas many examples of centres of AI that are bringing together researchers. So, we've looked at examples broadly in Singapore, Germany, or anywhere you look, actually, you can find a centre on AI. And so I think there are examples of doing this. You're right. I'm just reading the comment in the chat at the moment. It feels like the team capability requirements need to be broad. Yeah, I think they do. So you do need to have management capability on your team. You need to have that alongside your research excellence and your great scientists. You need to have people who are thinking about how research can start funneling through and meet industry needs, and how you negotiate those sort of processes. So yes, the capability requirements probably are broad, and that's why we're suggesting also that you take a more of a consortia approach, so you're able to tap into the skill sets of different people in different groups.
Yep. Just a comment. I don't know, it sort of looks like a question, but the timeline feels usually compressed, unusually or usually compressed for what's at stake. And that's got a question mark. So is it a comment or a question? Do you want to comment on the time frame maybe? Just why has it been so October 23rd, closing November 20th, and then the next date for
I guess a couple of comments in response. One is just to refer back to that we need to move at pace. There's a sense of urgency here and getting this platform going. We're all in the same boat with compressed timeframes for everybody. And I guess the concept is about your vision, conceptualizing. The proposal stage, if you reach that, gives you more chance to put flesh on the bones and actually work through, if you are successful, what might it look like? And then it's when you get to the contract that it's delivery. So yes, it is compressed, but you're not going to have everything sorted out from day one. There is your vision and how the platform takes shape will evolve. And what we see with other large science investments and SIF platforms is they continue to evolve from the start over the multi-year life, where partners will be added. They may shift, their focus will refine. So it's not a steady state thing.
Great. Thank you. There's a question here that hasn't been upvoted, but it's quite popular, so I'll read that one now. Will there be an explicit requirement for the proposed solutions to embed intellectual property rights, especially for Māori and other ethnic populations within Aotearoa, New Zealand?
So I guess just like any of our other science contracts, we will expect that the successful platform has an IP plan and a data management plan, and that will need to address how they will manage, access, analyse, protect, and share, I guess data and their IP principles. And that I guess both of those will need to have appropriate data management IP principles for the nature of what they're doing.
I guess, good research practices, it should go without saying.
I'm just trying to figure out which one to read next. What will happen if the same organisation is part of multiple phase 2 proposals? Are there any kind of conflicts foreseen?
They'll be terribly busy.
Yeah, they'll be terribly busy, and we would like to pick, the intention in the call for proposals is that we would like, our ideal outcome is picking just one proposal so that we can have that critical mass in the platform.
If you miss out in the first round, phase 1, can you join a consortia for phase 2? Can you be selected to join?
Maybe selected is the wrong word, but I can see a situation where the around 5 who go through to phase 2 will be made public, and there may well be people who submitted a concept who look at it and go, I'm really well aligned with what they're doing, and conversations happen, and these platforms are going to evolve.
Great. Some of this might be a little bit of repetition, but I feel because they're popular, maybe there just needs to be some clarity. So since we need to come together as coalitions, do you expect each proposal will have one pre-existing proposer with various support groups, or do you need all parties to have their governance worked out so they can be a cohesive group even at phase 1?
So in your concept, you are just providing, I guess, an initial view, and you can flesh that out and put more detail in the proposal stage.
Yeah, I think, if the question is, do you need to have almost a marriage contract before you put your proposal in, the answer is no. We just expect that you have had those conversations, and that over time, those relationships are going to formalise a little bit more.
Yeah.
Great. Kia ora from this this researcher, is it plausible that there may be calls for suggestions that phase 1 proposals merge in round 2?
Yeah, that is feasible. I mean, our assessment panel are bringing fabulous expertise. We want them to bring their expertise to bear on what they see in front of them with those concepts. And our bottom line is we want the best platform to deliver on those corporate proposals. So if they see something where actually to them it makes sense, where it could actually create something much stronger, I can imagine that they would suggest that.
Yeah, I think too that what applicants can expect is in the phase 2 period, unlike phase 1, there will be a bit more interaction with the NZIAT staff who will be checking in and seeing how your proposal development is going, and we'll be able to look across those and say, hey, you know what? There's an amazing opportunity for a real strength and a fabulous platform proposal if we bring these two things together. That's a possibility. So whereas the phase 1 is sort of hands-off, tell us what you'd like to do, phase 2 is a bit more hands-on.
Great. This is another one that's been voted up. Is there scope for the fund to favour lead entities outside universities to ensure more investment goes into delivery rather than admin? E.g., given the high overheads of university contracting, how is the fund prioritising leadership structures that deliver stronger returns on investment? And are you prioritising, I guess, is the first part of that question.
So yeah, I'm the process person, so you'll see I go back to the call for proposals as my touchstone with all these questions. And in the call for proposals, we have not listed any priorities of that nature. It's make your case for your platform.
Right.
Can I answer the question that's at the top of my list from Tipu Media saying didn't mention private industry players around team capabilities? Wouldn't a proposal be strengthened? Absolutely, yes. That's the point of this, is to have this consortia that's bringing in industry, hopefully from the beginning, so that you've got this idea of where you're going. So absolutely agree, yes, a proposal will be strengthened by having that industry involvement right from the start.
Yeah, and reinforcing that actually it would be wonderful to see, I guess, that acceleration of bringing that research through to commercialisation, and yeah, your partners should be also helping with that as well as providing research capability. Yeah.
Here's a comment from one of the researchers that's earned like a whistleblowing thing and whatever it is, like a party hat as well. And we might finish with this one, and then if there's others, I can send them through to you, and maybe if you want to comment, we can send something, or you'll add them to the FAQs. So with the international reviewers having their own agenda, will the international reviewers have their own agenda so that it's not necessarily in the best interests of New Zealanders? And there's a whole long part to that if you want to read that about. I believe that we'll need to create our own large language models. I don't want to take airtime at the moment. If you want to just answer the first part.
Perhaps a brief comment. How assessment panels work is by forming a consensus across the panel members. So, you know, the group as a whole owns their recommendations, and it's back to my touchstone, the call for proposals again. You know, how we brief that panel at the start of the process. The instructions for the panel to focus on what's on the call for proposals and the assessment panel. I guess their job is to try and deliver on providing advice on the concept proposal platform that's really going to best deliver on what's that call for proposals.
Thank you very much, Vanessa and Sarah. That was just so helpful to all of us who are burning the candle at both ends on these on bids and so on. And it's really nice to have all this clarification from you at this stage. It looked really essential, actually, just so we don't go down the wrong rabbit hole. So I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone who joined. It was really good. You know, like probing questions that were really helpful to all of us working on these bids to actually understand the answers to those. So thanks for such high quality questions. That was brilliant. And of course, the brilliant answers. So helpful. Yeah. So thank you both. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou katoa mō tō koutou whai wahi, ngā mihi hoki ki ngā manuhiri. I tēnei rā, Sarah raua ko Vanessa, tēnā koroa. He pai rawa atu I nei kōrero. Ka mutunga au I te karakia, unuhia. unuhia ki te uru tapu nui. Kia wātea, kia mama te ngākau te tinana, te wairua i te ara takatū. Koia rā e rongo whakairia ake ki runga, tūturu whakamaua kia tīna, haumi e hui e, tā iki e. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thank you.
Bye.